everyone, it's Erin from McNulty Irish Dancers, and today I'm going to be showing you different steps on how to put in a bun wig. I hope this is helpful. Thanks. So the first thing you are going to do is separate the poof hair from the hair that you are going to put in a ponytail, which later into a donut. So the way to separate this is you go right behind the ears forward and you collect all of this hair in the front. Most likely, if you have thick hair, this will be too much, which mine is, so I will show you how to get some of it out. But you see, I'm taking a lot of my hair in the front, and I don't need this much. If your hair is thin, you're probably going to want to use from behind the ear to the front. But if your hair is too thick, what you're gonna do is just take some of the hair that's in the back here, keep holding the hair that's in the front, and just put that with the rest of the hair. Okay, so it kind of looks something like this. So you should have hair that's going to be used for the poof on all sides, from ear to ear. This will just help the poof look more full. And then you're gonna wanna take a hair tie and section that off. Okay, then the next step is taking this hair and putting it into a ponytail. So I'm just gonna flip my hair over. Now, it doesn't really matter if it's bumpy up here, because if you have a big wig, it's going to, I'm not sure if you can see it, but this hair, it doesn't matter if it's bumpy. What hair you don't want bumpy is at the bottom and even just like a little bit on the sides. So if it is bumpy, you're just gonna comb it out. And then you're gonna wanna keep, like I said, it doesn't really matter if like up here or close to the ponytail is bumpy. So it might get a little bumpy as you move it forward. I'll try and go over here so you can see it better. But you're gonna wanna start moving the ponytail up so it's as close as possible, not totally on top of it, but so that it's up top at the crown of your head. And then you're gonna hair tie it. And you want to make sure it's centered and in the middle. If it's a little bit off center, something I learned is you can move it over with the bun. Okay, so now you have your ponytail. You can see mine is a little bit off center, so when I do my bun, I can move it over. Now, what I'm going to do is, some people actually just go like this with their bun. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if your bun is messy, but what you're going to want to do is wrap your hair up into a bun, okay? Now, when you look at the camera, your bun should be, like I said, at the top of your head and center. And then, I don't have another hair tie, so I can just do my bun like this. So I just wrapped it around my ponytail, and now I'm putting a hair tie around it, okay? Like I said, it does not matter what your bun looks like. Mine is a little bit crazy. Next, so at least for the older dancers, even for some of the younger ones, if their wig allows, you're gonna wanna have 2 medium-sized donuts. So there are some that are smaller than this. You can see how thick they are. They have started selling these giant donuts, but I've found that these aren't as helpful because they're not as high. And you do want your bun wig to be pretty high, especially if you're using the Clodagh from Camelia Rose. It's pretty big. So you're gonna wanna stack 2 donuts on top of each other. So I just put it over my bun, and now you stack them. Okay, so now that the buns are in, you can see it's still kind of, yeah, it's centered. You can see I have a little bit of a bump here, but that's not of concern because I'm going to be putting the wig over that. Okay, so now that I have my 2 donuts in, it's important, since this is the center of the wig, to bobby pin this portion. I usually use about 4 bobby pins, and I pin them. I pin 1 on this side, 1 on this side, and then I usually do 2 in the front. It doesn't matter where, as long as they're kind of on opposing sides. So I'll put 1 in if your wig has a tendency to come loose, you're gonna wanna do crosses with the bobby pin. So like this, you're gonna wanna pin one in to one side and one in so they cross. But the same goes for any time you're bobby pinning. It's always sturdier when you do a cross like this. So I put in one there. Now I'm putting another one in and I'm crossing them, okay? You're gonna wanna make sure every single time you pin a bobby pin down to make sure that one, it's getting some of the hair and some of the donut, or some of the donut and some of the wig, because they need to be together in order for it to be sturdy and strong. So now I'm gonna do the other side. Now I'm putting one in the front, keeping the donuts together. Also, when you put in a bobby pin, see how mine kind of came out right away? That just means you're gonna need to rearrange it. But whenever you put a bobby pin in, you should stick it in a way that it doesn't move, it doesn't pop out. So I'm gonna cross this one. And now I'm going to the back. So you won't be able to see this, but everything I just did in the front, I'm just pinning in the back. But I should have grabbed a third hair tie, but typically this will all be knotted together. Okay, so now that everything is pinned with what I've put in so far, now would be a good time to hairspray. And everybody probably has some of these little flyaways in the back. So when you hairspray it, you don't want to hairspray up here. You can, but it might not help or totally keep it up. You're actually going to want to spray the tops of this hair, because then when you push it up, it will stay glued, come down. And then obviously you can pin these little flyaways in the back. In fact, something I forgot to mention is this is my second day hair. So if possible, you're going to want to do your wig for feshes, for shows on second day hair. Just makes it a little bit easier to work with because it's not so fresh and clean and soft. Typically what I do for my poof, and everybody's hair is different, so just because it works for my hair, everyone might need to kind of finagle something different for their own. So this is the hair in the middle. I like to split it in half, like take a little bit, not totally in half, like a third. So I'll take like a little bit of hair from the front and do it to this side when I tease, and then a little bit of hair from the front and bring it to this side, and then I'll tease each of these three sections separately, just so it's not like each individual section, it's like one cohesive poof. So what you're gonna want is some kind of like fine tooth comb, or some of you I'm sure have like teasing brushes. I have one upstairs, but typically any comb works for this. And what you're gonna want to do is take your first section and you're going to want to brush up backwards. You should do each part for probably like a minute. You want to brush the bottom, the middle, and the top. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the second section. Now I'm going to the third section, going all the way to the top. The top is super important. I think a lot of people forget this section, but this is ultimately where your hair is going to be curling up to. So as you can see, I have this big mess right here, which is why you don't want to use too much hair for the poof, because a lot of it is, it's going to get a lot bigger, and if you take too much hair, it will be impossible to tease and work with. Now that I have all my hair, I've seen people do this part very differently. And this is kind of something you have to work out with your own hair or your daughter's own hair. I've seen some people go like this. The only problem with that is then it kind of just gets flattened because the wig is going to have to go over that, but it may work for your hair. Some people try and make a poof out of this hair. I just find that difficult when you take some of this side hair, which is important because I know at least the teachers want us to have something on the side so it doesn't look so flat and tied up. But what I've found works really well for my hair and easy to manipulate, so I gather all my hair and I'm trying to like smooth it out in the front because that is what's going to be seen. And one thing you have to keep in mind when you're doing your hair is you have to be super patient with it, okay? So it's going to look atrocious when you first do this, but what I do is I take it all out after I flattened out the front and I start rolling it. And like I said, this might not work for everyone's hair. I've just found it's easy to manipulate and stop and start over without like messing up. So you're kind of gonna look like George Washington at first, but the main part is you just want to hold this first section. This first section looks just like this, okay? I have no poof holder or anything. I just rolled my hair, and I'm holding this front part. Now I'm gonna take one bobby pin. Also, you might probably have already noticed this, I use the big bobby pin. Now I'm literally just sticking it into the middle of the poof, okay? And this will hold it together, okay? I stuck one bobby pin straight through the middle, like right here. So not through the side hair, but just through the mass of all that hair I curled up. Now when you stick it in there, it's not, like this honestly turned out really well the first time. It might, like one side might be a little bit higher, one side might be lower or pressed down, or there might be some hair sticking up. Don't worry about that. All you have to do is get the hair to stay first. You need something to hold it in. And then you're able to go in with one or two more through the middle. So I went through this side that one time. So now I'm going through the same thing, but just on the other side, just so it's a little bit more sturdy. Okay, so now that I have this all taken care of, I'm gonna use my comb again. I'm gonna take this extra hair and kind of comb it just so it looks nice, and then I'm eventually going to bobby pin it. So I'm going to take another bobby pin, and like I said, sometimes this takes some finagling, so you have to kind of be patient with it, and if you don't like it, you can always just take that bobby pin out and try again. So I kind of like it like there's still like one chunk of hair that's not really working with me in there, so that's okay. So I did that. As you can see, like one little section's kind of sticking out. So I'm going to take one of the small bobby pins now. Here we go. And I'm going to try and fix that. I'm just gonna, usually whenever I try and address an area that's sticking out a little bit, I just take it and I pull it up, and then I just pin it down. And then so sometimes when you bobby pin it, it goes a little bit flatter than you want it. So once it's pinned down, you're able to take that comb again and just gently kind of bring it out, or you can take the bobby pin that you used, or like the hair, and pull it out a little bit. And it's, like I said, not gonna be perfect. And also something to keep in mind is it is going to change once you put your wig in. So you do have to kind of pin carefully and expect that. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the same thing on this other side. All right, so now I've taken my hair kind of like the same side, and I like this front part. It's nice and smooth, so I'm gonna take it and bobby pin the rest of the hair just in the back. Now, something to keep in mind with a poof is you want everything to be cohesive, like a nice smooth line. You don't want, you know, one part to be sticking out and one part uneven. So you might have to just play around with it. A lot of it just takes like experience and practice. So with all that is kind of another option, to keep combing it until it kind of goes away. Once you kind of have your poof, and mine's not perfect right now, you can start hairspraying. And this also with the comb kind of helps you figure out how to address some of the hairs that might be sticking out a little bit more or aren't looking the way you want them to. And then something I like to do, you might have seen me doing this, is if you have any flyaways here, they do look nicer curled, but say you have some hairs that just typically fall out. I found, I don't have as many on this side, it would look nice with them curled or just tended to. I think it kind of creates that softer look that the teachers are looking for. If your dancer ever complains about a bobby pin hurting, we wear these wigs for a long time at competitions and shows, so I recommend just taking the bobby pin out and putting it or maneuvering it some other way, because it's probably pressing on a sensitive part of the scalp. So we don't want those hurting heads by the end of the day. So it is possible to do a wig without a bobby pin hurting. So if a dancer complains about one immediately going in, take it out and put it in a different place. Okay, so when you have your donuts pinned down and everything hairsprayed and your poof is done, now it's time to go to the wig. So I'm going to show you now an image of what your wig should look like when you start. So this is what your wig should look like when you begin. Notice I don't have any bobby pins sticking out. My string, wherever that is, right here, the black tie is all the way down. So it's not still wedged in there. You always want to take that out at the end, and any loose bobby pins, and just kind of stretch it out so that it's ready to be put in your hair. Something to keep in mind is my wig is bigger, okay? So that means that I have 4 combs, one on each side of the wig. Some of you might only have 1 or 2. When you have 1 or 2, I would suggest you're going to kind of have to discern where you're going to put the combs. But if you have 1 comb, you definitely should just put that in the front of your hair, at the front. And if you have 2 combs, you're gonna have to decide whether you want that in the front and the back or on each side. I know most people probably do the front and the back, but if you think it's going to ruin your poof, you might want to put them on the sides and just make sure you bobby pin and pull the string really well. Now I'm going to be putting in my wig. Something I didn't mention in that past video is you don't want the tag to be in the front. We don't want that to be sticking out. So I usually put that in the back. And if you have a big wig, it might be helpful to have someone hold the combs. Usually I have my sister hold them, but right now I'm doing it alone. So I'm just going to put the front comb in. Now it's kind of hard to tell, but you don't want to put the comb too much on the hair that is attached to the poof. So you're just gonna put that right underneath the donut, okay? And then I usually just hold it there, and then I'm going to put the second comb in the back. Something that I did not mention is if you have a bobby pin that's holding up that hair that we hairsprayed in the back, you're gonna wanna make sure that you put that second comb in the back underneath that. Not only will it help that that flyaway hair to stay in place, but you want, if you have a big wig like one of these Clodaghs, you want to stretch the wig evenly in as many directions as possible. So you don't want all the curls to be right here or on the sides. You want a lot of the back to be covered as well, which is why I mentioned in the beginning, it's important to, it's not as important if you have some bumps. I'm gonna start putting in the combs on the side. Notice I'm tucking the combs behind the hair and the poof. You don't want them to pull on this because we just spent time making sure that it was covered on all sides. Once all the combs are in, I know sometimes it might be hard. Right now mine are staying in place, but sometimes I have to have people hold them on the sides, but right now mine are fine. Okay, so my string is in the back now, which it should be if you have a big wig and you have all these combs. Now I'm gonna pull it, not too tight because these are very sensitive and can break. And then I'm going to take the little black cord and I'm gonna push that up there too. Okay. So now I have this string that I have to deal with. This is probably one of the most crucial parts. I'm gonna take this string and I'm just putting one bobby pin on there for now, but this keeps a lot of the wig together. So I usually hold the back so that the back comb doesn't flip up. And I start, it's okay to go over some of the comb or the curls in the front. And I just try and keep my wig because nothing's pinned in right now, and do like one full loop around. If you need to do less, that's fine, totally understandable. You don't want to stretch this too far. So mine didn't actually go all the way around. Now you can see my curls are kind of out of whack. So it's crucial once you pinned it in, I just pinned it in kind of like right into or underneath one of the donuts in my hair. So once that happens, you kind of have to regroup the curls a little bit to make sure that it looks full. And some of them, like, now they're a little better, but some of the curls, depending on where the band goes over, you might need to pin them down because you don't want one side sticking up and one side not. So first you're going to find that band again where you pinned it in, and you're gonna put another bobby pin over it. Kind of just like what we were doing with the crosses, you just wanna make sure that there's always like a backup bobby pin to keep it in and secure. Now sometimes, and I've seen this with my own wig, my sister's wig, even some others, there's these two little strings that usually stick out afterwards. So we're gonna pin that down too. And then I'm gonna fluff them again. Good. Also, something I didn't mention, anything that went wrong with the poof there, you can see mine mostly stayed intact. I'd like these side things to be out a little bit more than usual, but that's how it worked out for today. You can take the comb and bobby pin and readjust stuff if something went wrong. Now it's time to start bobby pinning the sides. This is probably something most people do not do, but makes the look that we're going for with these ginormous wigs. So here's some extra curls, and this is probably the key to keeping your wig in and tight and secure. I see a lot of people just sticking in random bobby pins that probably aren't doing much with your hair. So this will keep your wig nice and secure. You take some of the curls and you actually pin them down. I'm pinning my actual hair and the curls. I think most people probably don't want to do this because they're like, oh, I don't want to ruin the curls. The curls will be fine. So you're going to pin that down, and like I said before, you're going to cross it. But every time I cross it, I try and take some more hair and I just pin it down and I cross the bobby pins. Okay, so that section's pinned down and my wig feels nice and secure there. And I'm going to do that on all sides. Again, I'm going to take some of these curls and stretch it down. Now is the time, if you feel just like any other spots that you think need a bobby pin, like I think over here could use one. One more thing that I forgot to include is that once your wig is down, this is the perfect opportunity to do blonde spray. Something I would recommend is covering the wig with it, because it kind of gets yellow and very glittery sometimes. You don't want that to ruin the wig. So find like a tissue and like just put it over the wig and then put it over the dancer's face and even like the sports jacket. At this point, you would put your bow in, and you don't necessarily want to move up all the hair and put the bow right there. You can maneuver the bow into one section of the hair where it's linked to the curl and to the hair. So it's kind of just like neatly placed on top of the wig. And that is how you do a bun wig. Please let me know if you have any questions. I hope our McNulty family is safe, happy, and healthy, and I will see you guys when this all is over. Practice, practice, practice.